Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the first of two Q&As in this international break. It's like you get the football and you enjoy it for a couple of weeks and then it's ripped from under your feet, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, and then you think, oh, what shall I do with myself? I know what I'll do. I'll come and listen to Az and Sam talk about FPL.
Yeah, well, there's a good number of people in the chat already. I'm already seeing some questions about wild cards and players. I know there's a lot of panic around players on international duty as well, especially like Matoma, who's with Japan, who gets back late, and now Pedro's been called up.
For
obviously,
Brazil.
so yeah, for Brazil. So we'll be talking about him. So yeah, get your questions in the chat and we will try and answer as many as we can. They can be FPL related, they can be life related. We can give you some advice on any issues that you might be having.
Not medical
maybe
advice.
maybe not medical. No,
We're not
okay,
qualified
we'll
for
draw
that.
the line at medical. Anything else though, we will be here for you. So yeah, let us know. And before we do that, I want to give a shout out to Fantasy EFL. That's fantasy.efl.com. And this is a really cool new way of playing fantasy football, basically, across all of the leagues that aren't the Premier League in England. You pick 7 players and 2 teams to win. It's a free hit each week. You can pick A. Phillips, like we've got on the screen, as Phillips. See him in the middle? Not sure who he plays for, but he plays in red. And yeah, the idea is you pick this team and it's like, because there's so many players to choose from, it's really exciting because you pick a player in League One and you're against teams in the Championship, but we know how crazy the EFL is. There's a Fantasy Football Scout League, £100 for the person who comes first. The code, the links are in the description, but the code is XYNH57PM. Sam, you're playing this, right?
I am playing this, yeah. It's actually really different and it's really interesting because I play a lot of fantasy games, as you are well aware.
No, do you?
Yeah, I really like it. It's a bit weird, isn't it? But yeah, actually, the EFL game is really different and it's really interesting because, as you say, you just pick the 7 players, but you also have to pick 2 teams, and the teams so you're basically betting on teams to win. So if they win, they return you points. If they win away from home, they return you extra points. If they win by more than 2 goals, they get extra points. And this week's really interesting because obviously it's international break for us in FPL, so there is no FPL.
Well, this is the
teams to play.
only fantasy game you can play this weekend.
Yeah, but this weekend you can still play this. We have 13 games still on across Leagues 1 and 2, 3 games in League 1, 10 games in League 2, so you can pick your players, and it's important that you do go and actually pick your players. So your players do roll over, but it's effectively like having a free hit. You can make as many changes as you like every week. So yeah, go and have a little look at it, and it is a really, really interesting game, free to play, and like you say, it's £100 for the winner of our league, so it wouldn't be that difficult to catch up either, because the points are... It's quite easy to score points in this league if you get them right. And a bit like on Challenge and some of the other games, you can change players right up until the moment they kick a ball, which is obviously interesting because then if they don't start, or you fancy a change suddenly at the last minute because you see the team sheet for, I don't know, Barnsley and the game against Bristol, then you can go and swap out the players. It's really good.
I mean, I love fantasy football because it makes games like, I don't know, Burnley versus Stoke more exciting.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be like Bristol City versus Portsmouth that I'm watching.
It is exactly like that because, to be honest, apart from the Championship, and I will watch some games from the Championship, but not that many, I very, very rarely watch a game for League 1 and 2. I pay attention to Wrexham because, like everyone else, I'm watching the Wrexham documentary.
Bought into the
I'm
Ryan Reynolds hype. Yeah,
100% bought into the Ryan Reynolds hype. Who wouldn't? But otherwise, I don't pay much attention to Leagues 1 and 2 unless we are loaning a player out down there, and I maybe pay a bit more attention. But this game has made it much more interesting. So on, like when I'm listening to Soccer Saturday and things like that, suddenly I'm really interested by what's happening coming up in Leagues 1 and 2. So no, it's been really good. Like I've really, really enjoyed the opening 4 game weeks of the season. We're going into game week 5 now in EFL. So yeah, definitely give it a go. And this weekend it will fill that void of fantasy football.
And then you'll get addicted to it and start watching every game in the
Exactly.
EFL. Let us know as well if you play it this week. Drop us a note in the comment. Let us know how you got on, how your team did. fantasy.efl.com. Love a new fantasy game coming out. So yeah, give it a try and let us know what you think. Let's talk about FPL then. We've got obviously over a week to go until the next round of fixtures. We started off the season very strongly, Sam. Did our first Q&A, green arrow, then another green arrow, and now we're both on a red. Not a great week, was it?
No, but you say this, but I was having a great week until Liverpool played.
Yeah.
So I was on a green arrow. So at the point just before Liverpool kicked off, I was at 600k. And I was like, yes, I'm having a great week. This is going to be fine. As long as Trent does nothing, as long as Salah does nothing, I'm going to be fine. So they didn't get the memo about doing nothing. And Diaz didn't get the memo. And Jota seemed to forget that he was playing for me this week.
Same.
And when you go into that game and the only Liverpool player you've got is Jota, and I didn't have any Manchester United players, and I know they didn't score very well, but going into that game, I just had Jota. And I was like, this could be a problem. And it was a massive problem. Cost me $1 million.
It's frustrating, isn't it? Because, I mean, I didn't go for Salah because I didn't think Jota could cover his points. I don't really believe in that. But I thought with the difference in value, I thought Jota's playing up front, Liverpool side. He can get close-ish to Salah. And he hasn't. is the long and short of it. Diaz, though, if you'd spent the same money and gone for Diaz, I think you'd be over the moon with Diaz's 3 goals.
You would.
Over these games. You'd be thinking, I don't even need Salah. But now I'm thinking, now I want to move for Salah, and my whole team's getting torn apart already to maybe bring him in, because I mean it's a start that I didn't see Salah having. Obviously, I know he's an elite player, but I didn't think he'd match Haaland over these 3 weeks.
I think I thought he might, and it's why for most of pre-season I had them both. Like most of my drafts in pre-season, I had both of them. It was only the Solanke move at the last minute that made me throw everything up in the air and sort of start again. And it was in that moment that I got rid of João Pedro as well, which of course, also looking back on it, looks like a terrible decision as well, because had I started the season with Salah and João Pedro instead of Jota and Solanke, it would have been a very, very different story. But having said that, it is sort of making me think, I want to get Salah, but it's also every time I do a draft of a wildcard that's got a Salah in it, I don't like it because there's so many things that are missing from it and players that I know I'm going to want in like 2 weeks' time. So I can make it look nice, but then there's not enough Arsenal, and then I'm like, well, in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be wanting to be, I want to have at least 2 or 3.
Are you wildcarding this week?
No.
No,
I'm just going to make one transfer this week. I'm going to sell Vardiol and I'm going to bring in Trent and hope that having Trent and Jota makes me feel better watching Liverpool games.
So no Salah.
No.
See, I've got the money to do Saka to Salah.
Ooh. I mean, I could do that. I've got 3.3 million in the bank, so I could do it.
Yeah. But I think I'm probably going to do it and then wildcard into 6 when Arsenal have a good run, because I haven't got an Arsenal defender anyway, so I'm going to want one. Then I can get Saka back. I could even get Havertz up top.
Because, I mean, I guess for me the question is that if you do that, how are you going to... Because that's another thing I've been considering doing this week, is let's just do it and get Salah. I annoyingly haven't got enough to go from Jota to Salah. But I'm also looking at my team thinking, well, if I did the Saka to Salah thing, how would I keep Saka come... game week 6, like how would I get him back and keep Salah if I'm going to also keep Haaland, and I'd have to probably sacrifice the defence. Then how am I getting an Arsenal defender?
I'm sure someone's going to post a team saying, look at my team, I've done this, but I don't think you can build a decent team with Haaland, Salah, Saka and Trent.
You can't.
I just don't see it. Like, you just
so
have to make so many compromises. That's it. And it's not really the route I want to go down, but I also want those 4. I think Salah's. I haven't moved for Salah. I've already made one move this week. I've done Isak to Pedro. So Pedro's call up wasn't ideal. I'm very happy for him as a Brighton fan, but I was hoping he'd kind of stay at home. There's now definitely a bit of worry about his minutes, but Isak has obviously got Wolves away. That's a good fixture. I'm not saying he's not, but using that money allows me to get Diaz, up from Smith Rowe potentially, or move Saka to Salah. So I've got a few options now in the thing. It's just exactly like you say. Do I want to lose Saka? Because I think if I lose Saka, I'm probably locking myself into that wild card in 6.
25 points against Spurs last season. Scored more points against us than...
Yeah, and he looked good against us. He could have had what he was unlucky just to get an assist in that game. He had Hinshelwood on toes for the first 20-25 minutes. Should have scored at the end as well when he reached for the ball. retched for the ball. I was about to say reached for the ball.
He didn't do that, but he did reach for it.
Doesn't need to retch. He's far too fit.
He's far too fit for that. He wasn't tired.
Yeah.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because I find the juggle this year in the trying to balance it. Like I've made wildcard drafts that have some of these players in, but there's massive compromises. Like I am really enjoying my big at the back strategy at the moment. Like having those 3 big defenders is actually, apart from even Vardy, to be fair, like it's been a bit frustrating, but he's going to be Trent. So I'm going to have a back 3 of Trent, Pedro Porro, and Saliba, and then 2 decent 4.5s you can have in there as well. No, annoyingly, I didn't do that. I did when I got Saliba as part of the not having Salah thing. I got Henderson, but I don't hate. Yeah, but I
don't hate it either.
No, I sort of hate it, but I also don't hate it this week. So I don't want to do anything about him this week. It's Leicester. Like fine, let's just allow it. But also now the window's closed, I wonder if we might see a bit of settling from Crystal Palace. Like now they know what's happening. That's what I think. Like.
It's a good fixture as well. It's Leicester and Everton in the next 3.
Yeah, I'm going to keep him for at least a few more weeks now. But look, I don't know. For me, of course I want Salah, but I think I want Trent. So I can easily go from Vardy to Trent. That'll still leave me with nearly 2.5 million in the bank. If the week after I'm prepared to bring down Isak to a João Pedro or whoever, then suddenly But I don't want to do that yet because I might want to go to Solanke, depending upon if he's back, or I might want to go. There's loads of players that I might want to go to in that forward bracket. Maybe want to go for Havertz and have 3 Arsenal by then, or I don't know exactly, but I want to give myself that flexibility. So I think just going for Trent this week hopefully allows me to go into those next 2 with enough Liverpool that I don't feel terrified, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like you can't have everyone. So it's just who are you going to be prepared to not have?
Yep, I agree. We better take some questions. We've got quite a few coming in. Let's take... this is a nice one from Joseph Robinson, actually, not a question. First time I watched Az and Sam about 2 years ago, I commented Az was definitely Grant Hanley of Norwich's long-lost twin brother, separated at birth. I haven't changed my mind. I remember that comment from Joseph.
I remember that comment.
And I sort of looked at Grant Hanley and I thought, I sort of see... I think I've said it before, Matt Willis from Busted I've had before. But obviously the most common one for me is Jack Whitehall. I think I'm like a hybrid of Jack Whitehall and Matt Willis from Busted.
Do you know, I think you look more like Grant Hanley now than you did 2 years ago.
Oh, is that a good thing?
I'm looking at his picture now. I've got him up on my other... Look, I think you look more like him now than you did 2 years ago.
He's a bit of like a bruiser like type guy. I wouldn't really describe myself as a bruiser. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
No, but you've got that same ruggedness.
Whoa, I don't think anyone has ever described me as rugged before. I am taking that. And let's carry on before the chat goes in on you for that. That same ruggedness. Oh, I'm taking that for sure.
Say that before before Yelena and Lee start whinging at us again.
Yeah. All the comments are going to start in a second. Absolutely taking that. Digital Mayhem. Not a question, but a good conversation starter. Watkins is on borrowed time for me. I watched the highlights of that Villa game. I just don't know how he's coming away from these games with. I mean, he got the assist, which was actually sketchy, but
ridiculous, wasn't it?
I mean, he had 3 or 4 really, really good opportunities. Hermansen stopped him twice, then nearly made an error that let him through on goal. Rodgers could have had a couple of assists. He's got Everton at home next. I'm sure he's gonna get something from that game because Everton look appalling at the back.
Appalling, absolutely appalling. There's a lot of people out there talking about selling Watkins, talking about selling Rodgers, talking about...
Johnny's in the chat.
Sorry, Johnny. Talking about selling all of these players. And I honestly don't... If you've got an Aston Villa player, you absolutely hold them. You absolutely have to. Like, Watkins, I can understand why you would say he's on borrowed time, though, because I think at his price point, when people are looking at Salah and thinking, I don't have him, or flip side, if you don't have Haaland, people will be looking at the best and easiest way to downgrade a player in order to be able to afford to go up to one of those two.
And they've got to perform right because there's so many options in the premium bracket. as soon as they go 2 weeks without scoring and you're looking at all these other ones, you're thinking, crap, I need to get the one that's doing well.
Exactly. And I think that's really important, that you have that ability to move flexibly. And so when you're looking at your team, if you're looking at Watkins, blank, 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 you would be, well, no, didn't exactly blank in 3 because he got the most ridiculous assist I've ever seen because it came off of a stud that he didn't know touched it. But it basically blanked in terms of, actual goal scoring returns. You can see why people are doing it, can't you? You can see why people would, but you look at the fixtures and particularly how bad Everton are right now, and I think you have to at least give him another couple of weeks. Now, if you get to game week 6 and Watkins is still blanking, then at that point, I think it makes a lot of sense, because you can have your Salahs and your Haalands and not worry too much about losing him. But I do think you have to at least give him this week.
I think so. I mean, there's 3 issues with Watkins that I see. One is the fact he's coming off at 60 minutes every game. We haven't seen that from Watkins in a Villa shirt before. He's 90-minute man every week, and he's getting subbed at 60. He's got a knock. He's flagged at the moment. Is he carrying like a little bit of an injury potentially? Second is the form of Duran, who's been absolutely immense with the 2 goals.
Particularly when he comes off the bench.
Absolutely brilliant. But he's going to be pushing for a start as well. And I'm not saying that means Watkins drops out, but it means his minutes might be a bit more at risk. And then thirdly, obviously, it's the form that he's only got 1 assist in 3. But the fixtures, I mean, Everton at home, Wolves at home, Ipswich away.
The one thing I would say, though,
I don't know how you can sell him.
We do have the Champions League coming on the 17th.
We do.
And last season, we didn't see a lot of Ollie Watkins in Europe in the beginning stages of the competitions because they didn't need him. So they didn't have to play him. He got a lot of rest time in those. It wasn't playing Thursday, Sunday. He was just mostly playing in the Premier League until later on in the competition. And then we saw a lot more of Ollie Watkins. But at the beginning, we didn't. Now, in the Champions League, that's not going to be the case, particularly in this new style of competition where you don't really have like the easy game where you can rest players because you're already qualified. Like, it's a league thing, so you're going to have to play strength every week. I would expect Ollie Watkins to be playing both, in those competitions. So with Duran playing the way that he is, that's another thing we've got to be mindful of, though, I think, is that we might see come the 17th of September when we start seeing the Champions League games in action, we might see some rotation with Duran in the Premier League, given how well he started, and with Ollie Watkins. So it's just something to be mindful of as well, I think, moving forward. But right now, I don't think Ollie Watkins is a buy, even with the fixture. But if you've got him, I think you have to hold.
I think that's it. I mean, last week, I was 90% sure I'd be buying Watkins this week. And I do wonder if it would be different if he had scored, if he'd got a goal and assist and 2 bonus and he's got a double-digit haul.
Then
there'd be a lot more investment in him, but he hasn't looked completely on it. His finishing is definitely a bit off. He is getting those early subs, and Duran looks good. So I think there's a reason not to buy him. But equally, I'm expecting him to do well against Everton. So I mean, there's someone in the chat saying they're going to captain him, and I don't hate that.
It's risky though.
Against Haaland at home to Brentford, or Salah at home to Forest. Don't hate it.
It's form, isn't it? I think you play the form of the other two. Whereas with Watkins, we haven't got that form yet. It doesn't mean it won't come, but I think you play the form of Salah or Haaland, surely.
Yeah. Miles Smith says Sam divorced Lee after a week of gloating. I don't blame her. If I wasn't a gooner, I'd throw my hat in the ring. I want to know how your draft went for Sleeper, because Mark and I were bickering like, a little old couple. And I saw some of the picks you were making, and I was like, that's Lee's input on that one, for sure.
Do you know, it was funny because we had a strategy. But I've played draft before. Lee's only ever played draft once before. And so he was like, right, let's do this. And I was like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. This is the best strategy. And we talked about what a strategy, because particularly as we had 10th pick. So we had a strategy, and we knew the top 2 players we knew we wanted if they were still there, because we knew we weren't going to get Haalands and Salahs. So we had a plan, and the plan was if they were still there, we'd get Son and Trent. And I can't talk about who we've actually picked yet, but that was the plan.
Yeah.
And then as we got further into the draft, we got down to sort of 6. Lee just was like, let's go rogue. Let's get a sexy pick. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. And then, so it was then just a compromise. Like, we did a lot of compromising.
That's good. That's healthy.
There was a lot of like, and I kept saying, let's not do that. Let's do this person because the resale, we've got better value with that person in terms of trying to trade them for others later. And actually, I thought it was going to be hell. I'll be honest. I thought me and him drafting together was going to be a nightmare. I thought it would be hell
for you. Yeah,
It really wasn't.
Oh, okay.
We because we had back-to-back picks because we were 10th every time. We always knew one. The second one tended to be a bit rogue because it was just whoever we could agree on that was left in our draft list. But no, we actually agreed on most. There's a couple in there that clearly aren't my picks. And I'm like, why have we... why? And I'm like, but you annoyed me multiple times because you kept picking the player I wanted. When you watch the video back of me, I'm just like,
not just me. Mark Southern's had obviously a part to play. He was so funny. He was so stressed. I mean, it's not like Mark to be stressed, but he was really stressed going in. Never stressed. I know he's a epitome of calm. He was like, we need to do a list, and we're doing this list, and they were arguing about the order and all this, and then he just kept getting players in his head, like Gomez of Wolves. He was like, we've got to get him, like 4th pick. I was like, Mark, there are so many players left. We're not getting Gomez from Wolves. Have you seen the fixtures? No, but he's going to be amazing. Yeah, he might be, but no one's going to pick him. We can wait until...
Do you know what we should have done? We should have swapped. Because you and me would have been brilliant together, and them two would have gone completely rogue.
Absolutely, yeah. He was very rogue. He was desperate to partner Ake with Akanji, and I was like, that's going to be a disaster when neither of them start, isn't it? Like, can we just get Romero?
Yeah.
Like, who's... Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it was fun. Watch the videos back
when they come out. Yeah.
They are very amusing.
It'll be funny.
Let's take a look at another question. Keep getting your questions in. Tassos 7, or Tassos the 7th, says, I have Luis Diaz. Should I worry ahead of game week 4? I mean, how are you feeling about general rotation from players off to their respective matches?
It's hard to know with Liverpool. So in the past, we would have always gone, well, Klopp doesn't play. His long distance traveller is the game after. Standard Klopp rule. We don't know what the slot rule will be. We don't know what he'll do. My gut feeling is that he definitely thinks that Salah, Jota and Diaz is his best front three, and therefore...
And Núñez is off anyway, presumably, with Uruguay.
He's off. Yeah, exactly. So my gut feeling is that you look, even if he doesn't start, what we've been seeing from Slot is around the 60-minute mark, he makes that swap. So even if Diaz doesn't start, and was on the bench for it, I'd expect him to come on somewhere around the 60 minutes. And in the kind of fixtures that they have, you'd expect that he would return in those games. So I wouldn't be worrying about Diaz. I think he'll be fine.
What about Pedro? I guess that's one for me. Although it's exactly the same answer that you're going to give. I don't know what Hertzler's principles are.
It's hard to know, isn't it?
On Pedro. John Turner says he's been called up Brazil. Yeah, he's got a very quick turnaround in terms of the flight. Again, I think it massively depends. I mean, Matoma last year went to a fixture in Japan and then was benched in the next game. I'm pretty sure it was after an international game. It was against Bournemouth. I went to that match and he came off the bench and scored though in that game. And he was pretty much ever present, before that under De Zerbi. So that was a bit of a surprise. Pedro has been in and out of the team, but that's, I think, more tactics than anything else. Hertzler obviously really, really rates him. He's staying on the pitch for 90, even when changes are getting made.
Yeah,
he's staying on. So at the moment, he's seen as a really key part of the team, but it all depends on if he comes back and he says, boss, I'm feeling a bit tired. He's probably benched if he comes back and says, I'm ready to go.
Because Brazil's the team to worry about, I think, more than the others, because Colombia and Argentina play each other on Tuesday, but it's a nice flight. It's a nice time. It's like 9:30 at night our time, so it's not like the end of the world. They're not, they're not playing at midnight on the Tuesday. But Paraguay and Brazil play at 1:30 in the morning on Wednesday. So by the time they finish and they leave the Brazil camp, they're not going to be back in the UK until Friday. You wouldn't have thought. So they're going to miss all of the week of training in preparation for that fixture at the weekend. So I think Brazil is the riskier of the South American games to have a player from. But as you say, Pedro's been important. But then you have got the new signings who haven't really got any game time yet, who potentially, with a week's worth of time with the new manager, could maybe start with Pedro coming off the bench. I don't think Pedro is a problem though. Like the same with Luis Diaz. Like if they come on for a bit at the end of the game this time, you've got them then available for game week 5. So you're not going to sub them out.
The sensible thing to do would be to wait and see if we get any news from us in the press conferences. I haven't done that. I've already got him. So one of the early moves. But I have to say 0.2. Well, actually only 0.1 because Isak still hasn't. I can't believe Isak hasn't dropped yet. He's been sold by like 1.2 million managers and hasn't dropped.
Same as Solanke.
Yeah, I know. How was Solanke? I mean, Solanke had the flag though, didn't he? Which maybe.
But even then, the flag will slow it down, but it doesn't stop it.
No.
So I'm surprised that Solanke is the most sold player in the game. I'm surprised he's not had a price drop yet.
Yeah, true. Very good points from FPL James and FPL Mackham. Nunes is suspended, isn't he? So he's not going off with Uruguay because he's got that international ban. So
with Bentancur, yeah, you're right.
He could he's very likely to start then. I think in that.
But is he? He's no good though.
Well,
Under Slot's style of play, Nunes is.
Well, is he just so? If he doesn't start this game, he's basically never going to start again.
Agreed. I agree because like you watch. So on Sunday, obviously, I was watching the game with Lee, and Lee said just watch Darwin for a minute when he came on, and he was just walking around. There was none of the press that you would see from Jota. He wasn't doing the same level of hard work. And I just thought, he doesn't fit with what Slot is trying to mould with this Liverpool team. So I think you're right. If he doesn't start him, that's probably the end of him.
Yep, I think so. Niraj says a Salah Jota benching would be carnage, considering I'll probably own both. They probably both get benched. That would be absolutely lovely. I can't see it though. Let's be honest. Let's take a look at some others. Malachi Fox says Rutter to play after his £40 million purchase. Yeah, I mean, Welbeck's definitely going to start, so it is who plays behind him. It could be Rutter, or it could be Pedro. I mean, Rutter's not done anything when he's come on, but yeah, is a lot of money played for him. Again, he could very well play in that game. SO says, what are your thoughts on the defence of Porro, Gabriel and Robinson?
I like it.
I've got 2 of those. I've got Porro and Robinson. I wouldn't mind having Gabriel,
2.
But I've got Trent, so I'd rather have Trent than Gabriel.
I got Porro, Robinson, and Saliba at the moment. So if
you're the person to ask about expensive defenders.
Yeah, and I'm about to add to that with buying Trent as well. So then I'll have Porro, Trent, Saliba, Robinson, and I still have Barco. But Barco's I'm going to make him leave Davis as soon as possible. I think Big at the Back is back.
Big at the Back is back. There you go. British87 says, I'm so happy João Pedro is not in the Brazil squad. One less headache. Well, I'm afraid to say, British87, you've got a headache because he's just been called up. So, like me, who bought him in, he's also, causing me a headache too. MF says, Trent, Semenyo and Havertz, or Robertson, Saka and a 4-5 striker. Wildcard issues. I mean, I prefer... Oh, that's got Saka in it though, the second one. Trent, Semenyo and Havertz is a nice 3 though.
I thought that. I looked at that and thought Trent, Semenyo and Havertz, that feels nice, but it does lack Saka.
Havertz has started strong though.
Yeah.
I think I'd go for the first one, I think, because it's got Trent and it's got the extra player.
It's more balanced as well.
Yeah,
exactly. I think I would do the same, but it would be... I'd feel sad about not having Saka, but I do prefer the first one.
Sushant says, thoughts on Kadioglu as does he start? Oh god, why am I being asked about Brighton defenders again? He's got a bit of a hamstring injury. So
is he a generational talent?
Talent. He's going to start at some point. I'm just not entirely sure when. It depends how fit he is. I mean, Veltman was man of the match against Arsenal, and he's the one that I think will miss out. A bit of a controversial. I think he was man of the match in that game. A bit of a controversial one, given his kick out at Rice. But
I liked his wife though. I love it when the wives get upset.
The wives get involved. What, Veltman?
Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Sticking up for him.
Was she? Good.
Yeah, she started. The wives come out in force. They stick up for their husbands.
Well, Casemiro's wife's been out.
She did the same. Yeah, this week it was Veltman's wife and Casemiro's wife. She was posting pictures of the trophy. She was talking about mental health, and I was like, yeah, actually, I've got a lot of time for that.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Nick says it was a bit sad to see people who went differential, i.e. Mbumo, still lost to Haaland captain. Yeah, that does suck, doesn't it? You take a punt on Mbumo, he gets a brace, you're absolutely laughing, and then bloody Haaland steps up and goes mad. Yeah. Don't give up, though, on the differentials. Keep doing it.
No, still keep going, yeah.
Keep going. Attaboy says, would you start Munoz, who is playing for Colombia but has Leicester at home, over Porro, who has Arsenal at home?
No, I don't think I would.
You play Porro?
I think you have to, don't you, for the attacking threat. Home game for Spurs. He's not gone on international duty. No Rice.
But if Munoz starts, he's arguably the best defender to own this week.
Trent's the best defender to own this week.
I'd play Munoz. 3 o'clock though. 3 o'clock on Saturday. Try it.
I think it's tight. He's going to play at 9:30 at night on Tuesday.
I just think as you go down the league, like who's going to play at right back for Palace if Munoz misses out? He's so key to that system. Who are they going to play?
Would you put it past Leicester to score though?
No, but Leicester at home is a much better fixture than Arsenal. Arsenal could get 3.
Agreed, but I don't think either of them keep a clean sheet. So it's on attacking threat.
I'd go Munoz.
Okay, we'll disagree.
Okay. Got to disagree sometimes.
Yeah.
It's fine. Mitoma Thought says, men need to get a Kamada replacement. Do you? I quite like Kamada as an option. Him, Minte and Souček on my watch list. I saw another question about Souček. Souček was benched, wasn't he, in the last game?
Souček was one during the draft that Lee got obsessed with.
We got him.
Yeah, Lee wanted him, went mental. Because
you can have him now.
I kept saying no because he got benched last week.
Yeah, we got rid of him. So if you want him, you can.
Oh, did you?
You can have him. Yeah, I swapped him. We swapped him for Adama Traore because Mark will not stop going on about Adama Traore. So, yeah.
Love you too.
I quite like that. I don't think I'd lose Kamada. I think I'd probably just keep him. He's got, that's like I said, Leicester and Everton in the next 3. He's looked quite good in the games I've played. Mitoma looks good. I thought it'd been really impressive in the first 3 games. He looks back to his best. It's just the routes to points for 6'5" aren't really there. He's got his one trick where he gets the ball on the edge of the area and then sudden burst of speed and then cross into the box. And it's very effective. I'd expect him to get points, but I think I'd probably keep going, especially this week. I do worry a bit about Matoma's minutes, given that he's got that Japan game. I think I'd hold Kamada for Leicester in this one. Although but like I say, Mitoma can be. I mean, Pedro could play on the left and Mitoma could be benched. Whereas, who are they going to play instead of Kamada? I don't know. I think as you go down the league, I just think these players are less at risk.
Rotation risk. Yeah, I agree.
I think so. Go down the league. Sorry, Palace fans. Palmer. A few questions about Palmer coming through. Did I see he's not in the Euro squad for Chelsea or something like that with Lavia and
in Europe.
Fofana?
Yeah, and Fofana.
I've never seen that before. Not a key player like that.
So it's interesting, this decision, isn't it? So what is that? What does that mean? So does it, because it's obviously out of the England squad as well. So
is he carrying something? I mean, British 87 says he's got a fake injury.
That's what I thought. I thought he had a fake international. I thought it was one of those, like all the others that are dropping out. They just had a very busy summer and they weren't going to play. But he's a bit odd. I've never known a team leave out their star player like that. Like,
I know
have
they
him
don't,
there.
yeah.
You don't need to play him. Just have him available. Like,
what if they get into the final group stage game and they need him and they need a win?
Yeah, I mean, they played him in qualifying to get to the competition.
I don't understand.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense to me either.
So,
I mean, maybe it's like a kind of, it's taking away that safety blanket for the rest of the team and saying you need to perform. But
yeah, still,
these are players on like, thousands of pounds a week. They
9-year contracts. They shouldn't need
motivation that your best player isn't going to play. I don't know. I think it's very, very strange.
I agree.
Malachi says keep Palmer fit for top 4, but I mean, you can include him in the squad and not play him. You haven't even got to take him to your matches.
No.
You register him, surely.
I would think so. I would think that you would register. If that was me, I'd register him. And then even if you never play him, even if sometimes you're going away from home and you just think, we won't even bother to take you, stay at home.
I know. I've never known a player like that not to be registered.
No. It's weird to me. It's really weird.
Daniel Turner-Dauncey says, nothing Chelsea do makes sense.
That's true.
There is that. And Delia agrees. When does it make sense? Chris, will they have a big enough squad to cover? They can use one of the 22 players they've got training away from the squad. Let's take a few more questions. Eddie Casey, hi Sam and Az. I've got one free transfer. Would you keep Gvardiol or swap out for Robertson? The only Liverpool player I currently have is Jota.
This is my position.
Yeah, you can get Trent though. So this position you can't get Trent. Assuming you can't get Salah or Diaz, would you pair Robertson with Jota?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
And I have thought about doing this because if I do this, it keeps all the money that I've got in the bank, and I can if I just do Gvardiol to Robbo, I can then use that money. And the question for me is, could I better use that million from Gvardiol to Trent? Could I use that better if I just do Robertson instead? Like, does that get me a bit closer to Salah if I downgrade Isak to Pedro at a later date? Does it get me... I mean, it obviously would get me Raya over Henderson in goal, for example. And I think it's those conversations. Now, mine's slightly different because I can afford Trent, and I think Trent is significantly better to own than Robbo. So I'm prepared to pay the extra million for Trent. But I would still do it even if it was for Robertson, because I think Robertson is a significant upgrade on Gvardiol, because Gvardiol... One, Manchester City defensively aren't as good as Liverpool, and we're still seeing the slip-ups that we saw last season from them.
That goal from Bowen was...
Yeah, it's the goal from Bowen, it's the goal against...
The own goal, I mean, from his cross.
Exactly, but it's also the goal against Ipswich before that. They are still leaky, the odd goal here or there, that we saw last season and frustrated us, but we accepted it from Gvardiol last season because where he was inverting, we got all of those attacking returns from him, so he was worth the money. Plus he was cheaper, but he was worth the money. This season he's not inverting because the invert's coming on the other side. Now we are yet to see whether, if Kyle Walker does eventually come back in, he then starts inverting again, but nonetheless I think with Robertson you're going to get clean sheets. His attacking numbers are also good. They're not as good as Trent's, but they are good, so you're going to get some attacking threat and you're more likely to get a clean sheet. So I would do this. Absolutely, because I think you will feel better going into a game where you've got two Liverpool players. Yeah. Even if you still don't have Salah.
Another question we had earlier was, would you prefer double Liverpool defence or double Liverpool attack? We're both one attack, one defender, aren't we? Because we're both Jota and Trent now.
My preferred would be to have Salah and two defenders.
So if you were wildcarding now, is that where you'd go?
Yeah.
Salah and two defenders?
Yeah.
I still like Jota and Diaz.
The problem I have with Jota and Diaz... No, I like Jota and Diaz, but the problem I have with Jota and Diaz is that it feels like game week 1 it was Jota, game week 2 and 3 it's been Diaz, game week 4 maybe it's Jota again because Diaz has gone long journey, game week 5 it feels like it's one or the other of them every week that does something. So in my head, and I'm also looking at the Darwin and the Gakpo situation and going, well, surely at some point when the Champions League kicks in, we see some level of rotation around those positions.
FPL Bill here says, would you keep Jota on a wildcard or switch to Diaz? Is it reactionary to move from Jota to Diaz?
Probably. Would I do it? Probably.
So would I, yeah. I think if I was picking one now, I'd go
Diaz.
for Diaz.
Yeah, I would too.
From what I've seen.
But it is reactionary because had Jota scored that header in game week 1.
Yeah. Then he's got 2 goals and I know.
We maybe feel differently again, but it is reactionary, but I still would do it because I just think DS is in better form.
Yeah, it's just not nice when you see, obviously Jota got the assist the week before last, but when you see so many goals getting scored and your player who's supposed to be one of the main men, the 9 in that team just isn't getting any, I can see why you'd move. And also, Jota, I'm not saying he will, but he could go down in price. Diaz is going up. There's a lot of things about that move that would work. So, yeah, I think I would go Diaz. Sammy says, as a Brighton fan, is Welbeck or João Pedro a better option for the long run? I think long term it's got to be Pedro. Got to be. Delia asked me this as well the other day. I just think there's a much higher chance that Welbeck is eventually phased out and Pedro plays. When O'Reilly's back, with Rutter can start performing. We've also got Gruder who can come in, who... Hertz sounds like he really, really likes him. So trying to find a space for him as well. All these things to me just say Pedro probably gets pushed up and takes Welbeck's place in the long run. But Welbeck's a good option in the short term. I think he started the season really, really strongly. John Tyner says, I have Brennan Johnson. Who should I bring in for him? Oh, Would you lose faith in Brennan?
This was another argument we had in draft, because I think Brennan Johnson will have a good season this season. I really do. I think we tried playing without Brennan Johnson at the weekend against Newcastle. We brought Brennan Johnson on. We looked significantly better. The problem we had at the weekend was Brennan Johnson was putting some great balls. We just didn't have a forward. It was putting him away. Had Solanke been there, I don't think you're thinking about selling Brennan Johnson this week. But I also think that there's more risk with him, again, when Solanke comes back, because you've got to shuffle around now. I would expect that Erdebert drops out. Son goes on the other side. We'd have Brennan Johnson. I think our front four is best when it's Son, Solanke and Brennan Johnson, with Maddison sitting in behind. I think that's our best right now. If you want to lose faith with him, 1.9.
So you can get someone
Can you get Mbuemo? Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So I'd do that.
What's Johnson, 6'4"?
Yeah.
So you can get someone, up to 8-ish.
I would go for Mbuemo.
Would you get him this week, though, away at City?
Yeah, because City defensively, he's exactly the sort of player I think could go to the Etihad and get a goal, consolation goal and a 3-1 Man City victory. He's a good record against Spurs, would not put it past him to get goals against us. And then after that, the fixtures are delightful.
I'd get Eze if I didn't have him.
Yeah. He's
Leicester
also a really nice pick.
6-9. Yeah, I think the people who sold Eze going into last week are going to be really ruining that. That was a knee-jerk decision, I think.
Yeah.
Going into that. But yeah. Final question then from FPL James. Do you think Solanke walks straight into the team if he trains during the international break? So it's going to be an easy yes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. He's 100% straight back in if he trains.
I'm looking at bringing him in, not this week, next week for Brentford at home.
I'll be doing it. If he's back, then that's what I'll do. I'll do Isak to Solanke next week, or Muniz, depending. It might go Muniz to Solanke instead, depending on how Isak does this week. But yeah, he'll be straight back in the Spurs team, no questions asked.
Yep. Cool. That's just about it from us this week. Just another shout out to the EFL 7-a-side, essentially fantasy game, fantasy.efl.com. Choose any player from all of England's leagues that aren't the Premiership, essentially, and compete against others. Join the Scout League as well. That kicks off this week. £100 prize for the winner. But also, Sam, something you're doing. Tell us about it.
Yay! I am going to be walking a marathon
More you than me.
After Solanke beats Brentford on the 21st of September, I will be walking a marathon. I'm doing the Shine Walk with one of my friends. It is, for those of you who don't know, it is a cancer research event that starts at 7:40 in the evening, and you walk through the night dressed in multiple glow sticks and various things around London to raise money for charity. So I have a JustGiving page. If anybody would like to sponsor me, you would be very welcome.
Links in the description if you do.
Yeah, we are donating all of our Patreon money for September to charity as well to sponsor this. So that'll be really lovely. So yeah, I will be exhausted, hopefully on a high after a Spurs victory. I might even be going to that Spurs match and going straight from that Spurs game into London.
Be a glum walk if you lose. Just
tell me about
around.
it. Can you imagine? I'll be just sort of like, ugh. And I'll be ringing you at multiple points during the night as for some entertainment to keep me awake. Because
I'll be in bed. Ring me.
I'm going to waking you up every few hours during the night.
Another call from Sam. Ignore.
But yeah, no. So yeah, if you live in London and want to just turn up on the streets of London at some point and give me a wave and encourage me that way, that would also be highly welcome. And I'll obviously be Instagramming it as I walk around. But yeah, be exciting.
Amazing stuff. As I said, link in the description if you want to donate to Sam. Otherwise, just look out for her complaining the next day. She's walked 23 miles or something?
26.2 miles.
Ooh. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing all about it. But yeah, we'll be back next week ahead of game week 4. Sure, we'll have some similar questions and hopefully some new ones as well. But until then, enjoy the international break and we'll see you very soon.
Bye, guys.